So today's video, we are going to be going over the original issue number 1, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It is originally in black and white, but I've chosen to read and review the colorized version of it. The black and the white is still a very good version. I have read the black and the white version, and it doesn't take away from it at all. But I prefer color on my stuff when I've got the option to have it. So, once again, this is the very first issue, like 1980 something. The Turtles are very different than how they've been since, when we were essentially growing up with the cartoons and stuff. The Turtles are a little more mature. I don't feel like they're overly mature, but they're for how they got a Saturday morning cartoon out of this. I don't know. It, anyway, we'll go over it. So the first thing you're gonna notice is all the turtles are wearing the same color mask. There was no blue and red and so forth. Not until I believe it started with the Saturday morning cartoon, I think, is when they decided that the kids needed to be able to tell the difference between the turtles a little easier by using different colored masks, which I think is a fantastic idea because the turtles all look essentially like clones here. The only way you can tell the difference is with the weapons they're holding. Of course, as you read, their personalities are all different, but that would be something hard to convey off somebody just flipping through it, off a metal spinner at a food line or something. But so the story is a little different than what we're familiar with. It's got a lot of similarities, but it splits into a little darker area for their origin, as we'll see as we get to it. This, I will say that I do feel like the original Ninja Turtles movie, live action Ninja Turtles movie, followed pretty closely to the beginning run of this series. It took down a lot of the violence that was in here, but it kept most of the tension and most of the major important plot points. But of course, there was just some things they could not do for a movie that was, pushed to be for kids. But at the same time, I mean, it was mature for what it was. Like it didn't treat you like a kid. It had high moments. It had tension in there. I think everybody remembers Raphael getting his butt kicked and thrown through the skylight. I mean, the music in it. Whoever done the soundtrack really done a good job on conveying emotion during sequences of action and stuff. I mean, it was really well done, but it does follow closely to a lot of what is done early in this run. So we'll start here with the turtles. You got most of this is narrated. It's a lot of you're seeing it and reading it from a certain turtle's viewpoint. Like here, we got Leonardo talking about it, how he's preparing for the fight, and they run into the purple dragons, and the purple dragons, aren't going to let them out unless they're dead. So we have the little splash page of the turtles jumping in, and as you can tell, they are all very identical looking. They've got little tails in the older series. They eventually done away with it. And I mean, I get it because it can kind of look inappropriate. Like right here, it can look inappropriate. And then you get over here and it just looks like he's turtle heading. I mean, so the tail, yeah, I think it works better without the tail. So it's a little more gritty, like you don't have these fist fights and all this. Like even Leonardo's like, these punks didn't even put up much of a fight before they went straight to the artillery. Raphael is stabbing people with his size, and it's way more mature tone. The turtles aren't holding back as much. They're not afraid to kill. Right here it says, yes, we can bleed, and so can you. And you see all this blood here. I mean, it's pretty clear that they killed these guys. So, there's a dead body hand down here. Once this goes away, right there, you can see the hand. There's the police car. They do a very good job of narrating why they're doing what they're doing, why they're staying in the sewers, because it's easy to travel from point A to point B without being seen. It establishes that they are probably around 14, 15 years old, more like 15, as you'll see towards the end of this issue. They get back. This was their first mission out, and they're kind of bragging to Splinter that they took out 15 people, and Splinter's like, you did a good job. All your training has paid off. Now it's time for me to tell you what your main mission is. So he says in the past 13 years, he's trained them for 13 years. So he goes over his origin, and a lot of it is familiar territory, or at least the beginning of it is familiar territory with anybody who's familiar with the movies and so forth. Where Splinter, it's a little different than where IDW took it. IDW changed the origin a lot. But the original origin was meant to be that Splinter was a rat that was mimicking his master Hamato Yoshi, who was part of the Foot Clan, and they were a league of assassins, basically. They done dirty work. And there's a little difference here because you have a guy named Araku. What's his name? Araku Nagi, who was best friends with Hamato Yoshi until they started competing for this woman's love, the Tang Xin. They started getting competitive for it, and she ended up liking Hamato Yoshi more, which Araku didn't like. So he went over there and beat the crap out of her, and Hamato Yoshi come in the middle of it and beat him to death, physically beat him to death. And Splinter is explaining that according to the rules of the Foot Clan, if you weren't allowed to kill other members. So in order to amend for what he's done, the only way for him to keep honor was to kill himself, or his other option was to take Tang Xin and move away and never have any ties with the Foot Clan again. So he chose to move. He got her. They moved to New York. He opened a martial arts school. And we go back to Japan at the funeral, and his son, no, it's his brother. It says it's his younger brother. This is where we're introduced to Araku Saki, who is the Shredder we are familiar with. This was the original guy's younger brother. So he's taken in by the Foot Clan. The Foot Clan train him up. He becomes one of the best members. They decide to give him his own section, his own order of the hand or the foot. The foot. The hand is Marvel. So he goes to New York as well. And it says that Shredder built this empire up over there with assassinations and any kind of dirty work he could get into. He built himself up into a big criminal empire. But he could not get Splinter, Hamato Yoshi off his mind. He couldn't. No matter how big he grew, he still wanted revenge for Hamato Yoshi killing his older brother. So as Araku Saki starts calling himself the Shredder when he gets to New York. That's like his criminal empire name or whatever. Well, Splinter is loose. He got loose after Hamato Yoshi got killed because Shredder went back and killed the woman, and when Hamato Yoshi seen her, Shredder was waiting on him and just flat out killed him. So it's a very different take on the origin, to where it was always kind of Hamato Yoshi and Araku Saki were always the two main ones, that they were there from the beginning and they're there at the end. That's not how it is here. Here it is the younger brother has stepped up to avenge the older brother's death, and they've got the whole domestic violence thing going on in the middle of it. I mean, it's very mature for its, this was the early 80s. There weren't a whole lot of comics doing this kind of thing, I wouldn't imagine. And there was no way they could have done that part of the origin in the movie when it was rated for kids. If they'd done an updated rated R version of it, it would probably work. But there was no way they could do that in the 90s, when they're trying to follow the success of the Saturday morning cartoon. But I think they ended up with a good enough watered down version of the origin that it worked for the movie. So here we are with Splinter, who got loose after his master got killed, and he's wandering around just looking for food, and he sees a blind man crossing the street with a truck coming, and a kid runs in, or a guy or whoever runs in to help him, and there's a canister that pops loose for TCRI or whatever they're called. It pops this little kid in the head, because it comes from the back of the truck. It pops this little kid, it pops the guy that saved him in the head, but the little kid, it hits his bowl of turtles. He just got 4 turtles. They fall in the sewer. The canister breaks open and releases mutagen down there that the turtles are soaked in. Splinter goes, gets a coffee cup, collects them up, and over the next couple of days, they start growing. And Splinter decides he names them after the artist, because he finds a book down in the sewers. He takes them in and trains them, and now he tells them, this is what I've been training you for, is you're going to avenge my master's death It's your job to kill the Shredder. So this is a drastic departure from where the movie and all come and where every other comic has come, origin wise with Turtles. This is very dark. The Turtles, Splinter trained them for 13 years to kill the man that killed his master. So this was, you know, this could never be turned into a Saturday morning cartoon. I don't know how they managed to dumb it down like that, and it actually worked. It actually succeeded. I wouldn't have thought it would have, because what they were building here would be phenomenal if they'd done that. If the Turtles were created now, like this, they would probably be put on something like HBO Max or something, and you would have a rated R, or at least rated PG-13. It would be like Daredevil or something on Netflix. And I still hope to see a Turtles like that, because the Turtles drastically needs a more mature version. But they are sent on their first mission to kill Shredder. Well, we switch over to, we're being narrated by Raphael, who Splinter sent Raphael out to leave a message for Shredder. So he goes to Shredder's compound, takes out some of his guys, and when he takes them out, like he takes them out, like they're not getting back up. He kills these guys. Shredder's in there having a meeting. He's trying to do a protection racket where he's offering his protection to these clients. He gets attacked, so the clients are like, there's no way I'm hiring you for protection when all your men just got wiped out at your own base. So Shredder will go to the duel just because he needs to regain face now. So they go to the meeting place. Shredder's waiting on him. He calls out his Foot Clan to fight the Turtles. The Turtles have this big fight with the Foot Clan. And I mean, the art is, I know I'm a very huge, everything's got to look realistic for me. Everything's got to look, it can't look cartoony, but this works for the Turtles. I mean, I feel like this art is working for the Turtles at the time. So, they're just a lot of teenagers. They kind of talk like teenagers. They get overconfident like teenagers. I mean, like right here we've got Raphael getting slashed across his arms. I mean, this is stuff they couldn't do on the Saturday morning stuff. So they clear out the Foot Clan, and Shredder's impressed because he said those were his best men. But he's like, but I see my best men left their marks on you, and you can see they're all bloody, they're all cut up. I mean, this is fantastic comic. I mean, it is. It's great. I mean, I like seeing a more mature approach. This is how the Turtles started, and this was great. So they all decide to take Shredder on one, very similar to, if you remember the original movie, it's very similar. They had to fight through his Foot Clan to get to him. He kind of dispatches them a lot, kind of the same way, only with a little more violence. It is kind of nice to see Michelangelo get the first real hit on Shredder, because Michelangelo is always thought of as being the weaker of the brothers because he cares so much about everything else. So it was nice to see him, especially at the beginning, get a little push. Leonardo cuts up Shredder's chest, but they're all pretty beat. So they decide to start working together. They're all throwing him off balance. They come in and they start getting the upper hand on him. And I mean, this is a pretty brutal fight. I mean, look at, they're all tore up. Leonardo stabs Shredder through the chest, and he tells Shredder the only way to save your honor is to kill yourself. And Shredder's like, no, if I'm going to die, I'm going to take y'all with me. And he pulls out a thermite grenade. Donatello throws it, hits him in the head, throws him off the building, and there's an explosion. So this is a little similar to the end of the Turtles movie. That's what I'm saying, is a lot of this is the Turtles movie drew a lot from this issue, and just for spoilers down the road, as if I have to say spoilers, Shredder does return. And it's kind of weird because you get kind of the beginning of the Turtles movie and the end of the Turtles movie here in the same issue. And then when Shredder returns, you kind of get the middle of the Turtles movie. But it all worked out very well. Shredder gets blown up. They go down there. There's his armor and his hand sitting there. So Shredder's been destroyed, and that is how this issue ends. But as you can see, they've been through a brutal fight. Shredder got blew up with a grenade. I mean, how they managed to turn this into a successful kiddified version, I don't know. But I'm glad they did, because they just got more popular. And of course, the comics, we're still running on the mature side. You didn't get the kiddified comics until a little later. And I think they even had the mature Turtles line kind of running side by side with it, I think. There was always a Turtles title going on. So this was a very phenomenal issue. Anyone who has not read any of this old Turtle stuff, like right here, I can read almost all the original run on Amazon's little Comixology for like $6 a month. I mean, it's if you like having the physical stuff like I used to, they've got hardcover compendiums that are like omnibus that collects everything they can collect without licensing issues. There are black and white. They do have a whole bunch of trade paperbacks. Some collecting the colorized version like this, some collecting the black and white version. There's a lot of options to get your hands on this old original series. The problem is, a lot of this stuff, there's going to be holes in a lot of them, because there was a bunch of licensing issues that's come up now that some issues can't be included. So you have to pay attention. But the art, I give the art in here a 7.5. It could always be better, but I feel like I'm very happy with what it portrayed. I think it done the job of what they wanted it to do, to convey everything he wanted it to convey. I give the story a 9. This was a very, very good story. It had origin. It had action. It started with action. It ended with action. It had impact. it set up all this that's to come. So yeah, overall, I give this issue a very solid 9 for sure. I very much encourage you to go check this out. I will be reviewing issue 2, so bear with me and we will have it coming next.